Hello, everyone. It's Laurent, but everybody calls me Larry. I work at ShareGate, and today we are going to talk about guest access, specifically in Microsoft Teams. So, in order to understand guest access, I first want to point out that there's also something called external access that's specific to Microsoft Teams, and explain how it's different from guest access. Because otherwise it can get pretty confusing with all these similar terms: guest access, external sharing, external using. And technically, guest users in Teams are external users who have access to a team and its contents. But what I'm going to discuss here is external access as defined by Microsoft, specifically within the context of Microsoft Teams. So, external access in Teams gives access permissions to an entire domain, allowing Teams users from other domains to find, contact, and set up meetings with your users. It's important to note that these people cannot be added to Teams in your tenant unless they are invited as guests. Guest access in Teams, on the other hand, allows you to invite people from outside your organization to join a team in your tenant. So, as a guest in a team, that person can chat, call, meet, collaborate on files. Um, and that person is given nearly all the same Teams capabilities as a native team member within your organization. So guests are added in your organization's Azure Active Directory, as a B2B user and must sign into Teams using their guest account. So this means that they may have to sign out of their own organization's teams to sign in to your organization, but it also means that guests in Teams are covered by the same compliance and auditing protections as the rest of Microsoft 365, and it can be managed within Azure AD. So, guest access in Teams is actually a really secure option when it comes to collaborating with people outside your organization. Alrighty, so external access in Teams is enabled by default for all domains. You can restrict external access by allowing or blocking specific domains, or just by turning it off. But since it's already enabled, I'm just going to go ahead and show you here in the Teams app some of the things external access allows and doesn't allow you to do compared to guest access. Let's look at what your users can do in your Teams tenant when it comes to interacting with external access users. So I'm currently logged into my account and within my own tenant. And let's say I want to chat with someone in another organization. So I'm just going to go ahead and start a chat. I have external access enabled. So if I search for someone outside my organization who I know has a Teams account, I should be able to find them and start a conversation. So I'm just going to look for one of my colleagues. It appears directly. So you can see it's an external access. So as simple as that, I can just click and start a conversation. The same goes if I want to call someone in another organization. You see that we can just start a sort of call with them. But now let's say I want to share files with that person. Maybe we need to collaborate on a SharePoint document for an upcoming project. If I try to share files through our chat conversation, you can see that it's not possible. There's no option to do that. Um, well, now that I notice this, I'm thinking, well, okay, so how do I collaborate with this person? What if I start a group chat with them and to see if we can collaborate with everybody who needs to collaborate on that document. So let's give that a shot. So let's start a group chat. So I'm going to invite my colleague Sarah, and then I'm going to try to add that same person. And you can see there's no match. I can't find that person. I don't have the ability to search externally either. So that as well is not an option for those external access users to use group chat. Although they can be invited to a Teams meeting, just like anyone, even if they don't have a Teams account. But yeah, more on that on the later chapter of this video. With guest access, you can provide people outside your organization access to Teams and Microsoft Teams, documents and channels, resources, chats, and applications. As you can see in the following table, we compare the team's functionalities available to an organization's team member compared to a guest user. It's important to note that team admins can control the features available to guests in their environment. So guests in a team can do a lot more than an external access user. Depending on how you've configured settings at the organizational level, guests can pretty much do all the same things that team members can. Like any other team member, guests can chat, call, meet, and they can also collaborate on files and have access to other teams' resources that external access users don't have. But as you can see in the table, they can't do certain things like create meetings or access schedules, create a new team, invite other person outside your organizations to become a guest, or discover and join a public team. So here I am back in the Teams app. As of February 8th, 2021, guest access in Microsoft Teams is turned on by default for any customers who haven't configured this setting. If you've already turned off guest access and want to re-enable it, I'll cover that in the next chapter. And it's also important to note that you can also, as an IT admin, further configure different Microsoft 365 settings to further limit some of the capabilities that were listed in the table just a moment ago. But we're not going to go over that right now. For now, let's just assume that guest access is already enabled in my tenant, and I haven't done anything to further restrict any of the capabilities from the table. So I'm currently signed in as a user within my organization. So you can see the list of teams that I'm a member of here on the left hand side. And if I go in one of my teams here that I need to collaborate with people outside my organization, so let's go in the content team in general. Hasn't been very active. So yeah, let's just mention a colleague, or not a colleague, but someone outside. Oh yeah, there she is. Um, so you've got Cindy here. So as you can see, that person names comes up with the label of guest to the right of it. I can interact with that person just like any other member, but there is a label telling me that they are a guest user. Same goes for if I want to start a private group or a chat with a guest user. So I'll just go ahead here, start a new one. As you can see, Cindy does appear in the group chat. Unlike external access user, the guest user can participate in a group chat, but I'll always see that label of guest next to their name. If I want to, I can also share files with guest users. So you can see here, there's the file option as opposed to what we saw for the external user. So yeah, so from the point of view of your users, for the most part, when they interact with guests in a team, it's pretty much the same as interacting with any other members of a team. The limitation I mentioned before, and that we've shown in the table at the start of the chapter in the video, those are limitations on the guest users in your team's environment. All right, how's everybody doing? I know it can be a little bit confusing, and we're repeating a lot of stuff, talking about guest access, external access. I hope it's not too overwhelming. Take the time to pause the video, go back a little bit, make sure you understand everything. And I just want to take this moment where we'll take a little break just to tell you that if you've got any questions regarding guest access, external access, or just Teams, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, anything in general, um, you can always ask us those questions, and we're going to be more than happy to help you out. The best way to do that is, I'd say, would be to reach out to us on social media. The easy one is Twitter, but any other social media works. So at ShareGate Tools, just ask us your questions, and we'll be more than happy to help you out in your journey to adopting Microsoft Teams. All right, so let's continue moving on, and now let's talk about turning on guest access in Teams. As I mentioned just before, as of February 8th, guest access capabilities in Microsoft Teams are turned on by default for any customers who haven't configured that setting. This brings the Teams access capability into alignment with the rest of the Microsoft 365 suite, where the settings is already on by default. If you know that guest access in Teams was previously disabled in your tenant, I'm going to quickly show you how to turn on guest access at the organizational level in your Teams center. I just wanted to point out that guest access in Teams is actually controlled at 4 different authorization levels. So before you get started in the Teams Admin Center, check to make sure that guest access is enabled at the other 3 authorization levels. I'm not going to go and cover all of the different settings you can configure at each authorization level in this video, but I'll share a link to some of our blog articles in the description below with more information. And maybe we'll make a walkthrough video covering that at some point in the future, so stay tuned. But for now, let's assume that all other settings have been enabled, which they are by default, and head to the Microsoft Teams Admin Center. All right, so to turn on or off guest access in Teams, or actually just to even be able to connect your organization Teams Admin Center, you need to be logged in as a global or Teams admin. So once we're in the admin center, we'll just go in the show all and then go into Teams admin center. And once we're in, we'll go in org-wide settings and then select guest access. So here is just important to make sure that allow guest access is turned on. Mine's already turned on, so I'll just leave it as is. And make any desired changes to the additional guest settings. And then once you're done, you just go ahead and click save. Once guest access in Teams is turned on for your organization, you can also optionally control guest access to individual teams and their associated SharePoint sites. But essentially, if you want to allow guest access in any of your teams, you need to have it turned on at the team admin center. And note that it may take up to 24 hours for the team's guest settings to become active after you turn it on. Okay, so once the feature is enabled, adding guest members to Microsoft Teams is pretty simple. And the expanded guest capabilities for Microsoft Teams means you can add anyone with an email address to the collaboration platform where they can collaborate with your users across documents, tasks, and conversations. As a global admin, you can add those guest users to your organization or teams in different ways. You can do it via the Teams Admin Center. You can do it via Azure Active Directory and the Teams client. But you need to be an owner in order to do that. A Teams owner, that is. As an end user, you can add new guests via the Teams client. Again, you must also be the Teams owner in order to do that, or on Outlook on the web. So this will add those users to the Teams Associate Microsoft 365 group, which gives them access to the other Microsoft 365 resources and tools associated to that group. So in this case, Teams being connected to that group, they will get access as guest users to the Microsoft Teams in question. Okay, so moving on. Anyone with an email account can participate as a guest in Teams. As an admin, you can add the new guests into your organization in a couple of different ways. Let's look at how to add a new guest in a Teams client, since it's the same way that your users will be adding new guests to their teams. So let's just start off with this one. First thing to know is that you have to be the team's owner in order to add a user through the team's client. So even though I'm logged in as an admin on my account, I'm on an admin account, I can only add guests to a team that I'm also an owner of. So in order to do that, we just go in the team section. We go on the teams that on which we want to add an external user. And it will just go here, click, and add member. And then we'll just enter the email. we go. Add as a guest. And I'll just go ahead and add it there. So it's as simple as that. So the owner can go through those motions and add guest users if they want to collaborate with them. So as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. The process your team owners will have to go through. But you as an admin will have two other ways that you can invite guest users. The next one is through the Teams Admin Center. So we will move to the Admin Center. Then in the left pane, we'll go and show all, and then go all the way down to Teams. Then we go in the Teams dropdown and we select Manage Teams. So as you see here, we have a list of our different teams. I will select the team I want to add the guest user, and I simply select Add. And again, I enter the email address. So as you can see here, I'm already there because I just invited myself in the previous. So that's a different account. That's another account I use. So it is me, but it's another account from outside this tenant, outside this organization. So I can't invite myself because I'm already there. But you get the idea. That's how you would go about adding a guest to another team in your environment. So the third option is that you as an admin can also add guests to your organizations through your Azure Active Directory. So you just need to have the role that allows you to create users in your tenant's directory, like the global administrator role or any of the limited administrator directory roles. So we'll go through the motions. In order to add a guest user in Azure AD, you'll just sign in to the Azure portal as an Azure AD administrator. So here we'll just go in the Active Directory. We'll just go again, click Azure Directory. In the Manage section, we'll go in the Users. And you'll see here in the upper left, we have New Guest User. So we just select this. We want to select the invite user option. So you enter a name, an email address. Email address is required. The other fields are optional. Then you can select the groups they are associated to or they will be members of. In this case, we wanted to invite the person to a technical support group. And there you go. You just fill in the information and then you click invite. The user has been successfully invited to your environment. So this method can be used for external collaboration settings in Azure AD. If you've selected to prevent users from inviting guests, right? So that would require you to go through the motion because your guests don't really necessarily have the power to do it. However, we don't really or don't generally recommend that as it will create a lot more work for you since the members will only be able to add guests to a team once an IT admin has added them in the Azure Active Directory. And it's going to limit the guest experience for teams and for the non-admin users, and we want to limit that as much as possible. So on the guest end, there are a couple of steps to accept the invitation. First off, you want to go in the email that you've received. If you don't find it, make sure to look at your clutter or at your spam or junk email. And yeah, so once you find the email, simply just go and click the Open Microsoft Team option. So it will open this window here. So we see here the questions about the permissions. So we just want to accept that. Might take a few moments. Hang tight. You decide if you want to use the download the app or use the web app instead. For this exercise, I'll just go ahead and keep using the web app, sorry, instead. So you see, it was pretty easy for me. So I'm connected to Teams. I have access to the Teams I was invited to. So I can start collaborating with the members of that team. The process is a little bit different if you've never used Teams before. You'll need to create a Teams account, but it's fairly simple. The users will just go through the motions, essentially, yeah, just going verifying email, going through a CAPTCHA, and standard stuff for creating an account. So it's pretty straightforward in both situation, although it's easier if you've already created your team's account, of course. You can switch back to your company's team, because now I'm connected to another team's. You can switch back. Um, there you go. And so we can just go back to our original teams here. Again, just use the web app. There you go. And yeah, that's it. So there's another option I want to mention if you or your users want to collaborate with someone outside your organization using Microsoft Teams. If you need to have a meeting, either a video meeting or an audio call with someone or multiple someones outside your organization, but don't need to use all of the available capabilities that come with collaborating with someone in a team, then you can also invite external users to join a Microsoft Teams meeting as a guest. So basically, anyone with an email address and web browser can join a Teams meeting as a guest without being added as a guest member of a team. Unless otherwise configured, meeting guests can share their screen or files and participate in text chat and through their audio and video devices. Although meeting guests won't have full access to some of the features in the Teams meeting, which might include Microsoft Whiteboard or meeting notes. So let's head back in the Teams app where I'm still logged in as an admin, but this will work the same for any user, any non-admin users. So to invite someone outside your organization to a Teams meeting, it's very simple. It's similar to what you've done in Outlook for several years. So you simply want to go in the calendar here on the side. Then in the upper right, you want to select New Meeting. So you just add a title, you enter a time and date, just as you're used to in Outlook. Description, I'm not gonna write a description. I'm too lazy. And then you just type the full email address. So I'll choose a colleague. There you go. And you just repeat the process for every single attendee that you want to invite. So it's the same process for people that are outside your organization and for people that are inside your organization. And once you're done, you just click send. Now, from the perspective of an external user, I'll show you how easy it is to join a Teams meeting via the email invite you receive. So to join as a guest, you just go in the email invite and you select the click here to join meeting option right here. In this case, I sent it to someone outside my organization, so it's someone using Gmail. But it doesn't matter what client they use. You can Gmail, Outlook. It's not going to change the experience. So you just click on join, and then you have three options. You can download the Windows app. You can continue on this browser, or you can open the Teams app if you already have it on your desktop. Now, for someone who doesn't really use Teams, for instance, I would probably recommend to just go on the browser if it's just like a one thing, so they don't have to download the application. So we just continue to browser. We'll allow. Uh-huh. There you go. So you just enter your name and you join. Of course, I'm alone in my meeting, forever alone. But if people were to start the meeting, I would join and be able to collaborate with everyone on the call. So Yeah, depending on the meeting settings, you'll either get in right away or go in a lobby where someone in a meeting will admit you. But that depends on the settings that were set before sending the invitation. And that's it. As simple as that. If your organization is collaborating with external users and you've been trying to find the best option, I hope this video has helped you by explaining the ins and outs of Microsoft Teams and guest access, from permissions, settings, to how to add guests, as well as how to differentiate external access in Teams and the ability to join Teams meetings as a guest. So this was just a beginner's guide to guest access in Teams. If you want to learn more on Team security or the different security settings you can configure, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with more videos we'll be releasing soon on our channel, or head over to our channel now and see all our existing content around Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365, and SharePoint. I've also put some links down in the description to some of our blog articles who dive deeper into this topic. Or if you just prefer to be able to read through some of the different walkthroughs I've just gone through. And as well as some link to some Microsoft official documentation with more details on the topics I've covered. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, and until next time.